But he's going to start. Carl, if you'll stick with us, we'll come back to you. Everyone, let's listen to President Trump.
A lot of hours there. Great place. Thank you very much, and good afternoon. We're here today to discuss the menace of MS-13. It's a menace, a ruthless gang that has violated our borders and transformed once peaceful neighborhoods into blood-stained killing fields. They're horrible people, by the way. Thank you very much to Secretary Nielsen, Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, thank you, Acting ICE Director Tom Homan, who is going to be, I hope you're going to be with us for a long time. I'm hearing he's going to go into a little bit of an easier job, but you won't be happy. You won't be happy. What a job you've done. Thank you very much, Tom. And Acting Assistant Attorney General John Cronin. Thank you very much. Thank you, John. And we also have a couple of folks with us today. Laura Curran, Nassau County Executive, wherever Laura may be. Hi, Laura. How are you, Laura? Thank you very much. I want to thank a very good friend of mine for a long time that this area knows very well, the great Peter King. Thank you, Peter. Thank you. Doing a good job. And he's fully got my endorsement, even though I assume he has no opponents. I don't know if he has any opponent. Nobody would be that crazy to run against Peter. Congressman Lee Zeldin. Thank you. Thank you, Lee. Great job you're doing. Thank you for all your help. And Congressman Daniel Donovan, really known as Dan, right? Dan Donovan, been a friend. For their great leadership in combating MS-13. Also, Erin King, you know who I'm talking about. Sweeney. Where's Erin? Where are you? Hello, Erin. How are you? A little bit of a relationship. Oh, Rosemary. Hi, Rosemary. So you say, that's my wife. I know that's your wife. Nice to see you. Thanks, Rosemary. Thanks for being here. Thank you very much, Erin. It's a great honor to have you. We're also grateful to be joined by Commissioner Jerry Hart of Suffolk County and Commissioner Patrick Ryder. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And they know this threat probably as well as anybody. We're especially moved today to be joined by families who have suffered unthinkable heartbreak at the hands of the MS-13 gangs. I'm truly honored to be joined again by the courageous families who were my guests at the State of the Union. That was a special evening. Elizabeth Alvarado, Robert Mickens, Evelyn Rodriguez, and Freddie Cuevas. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Their beautiful daughters, Kayla and Nisa, were murdered by MS-13 gang members, many of whom exploited glaring loopholes, and we have the biggest loopholes of any country anywhere in the world. We have the worst immigration laws of any country anywhere in the world. But they exploited the loopholes in our laws to enter the country as unaccompanied alien minors. They look so innocent. They're not innocent. We are praying for these families with us today, and we pledge to honor the memory of those you lost with action and resolve, and I'll just add another word, with great success. And thank you very much for being here. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And they will not have passed in vain, that I can tell you. MS-13 lives by the motto, kill, rape, and control. That's actually their motto. Kill, rape, and control. Last month, MS-13 reportedly called for its members here on Long Island, where I essentially grew up. You know Jamaica, right? I always said Long Island's very close. To call and to see what happened is just incredible. But they killed a cop for the sake of making a statement. They wanted to make a statement. So they killed a cop, a policeman. Here in Nassau County, MS-13 gang members were charged with killing and hacking up a teenager And police officers just told me 4 other young men were brutally murdered recently by MS-13 in Suffolk County. In Maryland, MS-13 gang members are accused of stabbing a man 100 times, decapitating him, and ripping out his heart. Police officers also believe the MS-13 members beat a sex-trafficked 15-year-old girl with a bat 28 times, totally disfiguring a beautiful young woman. In Texas, 2 MS-13 gang members were charged after kidnapping, drugging, and raping a 14-year-old girl. They then murdered her and somebody else. Crippling loopholes in our laws have enabled MS-13 gang members and other criminals to infiltrate our communities, and Democrats in Congress refuse to close these loopholes, including the disgraceful practice known as catch and release. That's, you catch them, you write up a little piece of paper that's meaningless, and then you release them. And they go all throughout the country, and they're supposed to come back for trials. They never come back, or very rarely. It's the rare person that comes back. Democrats have to abandon their resistance to border security so that we can support law enforcement and save innocent lives. And I noticed recently where Democrats, Nancy Pelosi as an example, are trying to defend MS-13 gang members. I called them animals the other day, and I was met with rebuke. They said, they're people. They're not people. These are animals. And we have to be very, very tough. So I'd now like to turn this over to a man, really, he has been a great friend of mine, a tremendous supporter, and I've always been a supporter of his, Peter King. He does an incredible job, and nobody knows this situation and this horror show and these laws, how bad they are. Worst in the world, better than Peter King. Peter?
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you very much. And let me say what.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. President, so an honor is to have you back here on Long Island. As you say, you're a neighbor. You were in Suffolk County last year, Nassau County this year, and you, more than anyone in the country, is highlighting the evil of MS-13. I congratulate you. I thank you for leading this effort. It's they are horrible, vicious, rotten murderers, and you are really leading the charge. And thank you for doing this. Thank you for assembling all of us here today, and thank you for mobilizing all the efforts of the federal government behind this. So thank you very much. Also, on a somewhat jocular note, let me tell Laura Curran I want to thank her for giving visas to Donovan and Zeldin to let them into Nassau County. I promise you I'll get them out of here as soon as I can, okay? So, okay. Now, we're very serious. This is a very serious issue to have these family members here. I've worked with them. I know what they've gone through. And for anyone who wants to minimize the danger of MS-13, just ask Commissioner Hart, Commissioner Ryder. They know firsthand exactly what this is all about. Let me also commend ICE for the great job that they do. Tom is here, and he's done excellent work in Suffolk County and in Nassau County, working with Nassau and Suffolk County Police. So, Mr. President, you have experts here that can talk. I just want to, again, thank you from the bottom of my heart, for all that you're doing. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Peter. I do want to say, and I have to pay great tribute to ICE, Border Patrol, but ICE came in and they are doing a job. We are taking them out by the thousands. Now, if we had laws that were proper, they wouldn't be coming back to the extent, but they've taken them out by the thousands, and it's way down, but it's still far too much, and it's unacceptable. So I thought maybe what we'll do is we'll go around the table, say a few words. If you might, we'll start right here. You have done a fantastic job, and we appreciate it. Let's go. Why don't we start? Thank you, John.
Thank you, Mr. President. On the very day that Attorney General Jeff Sessions was sworn in, you signed an executive order with a very clear directive: reduce crime in America. And it is my honor to support carrying out your mandate by helping to bring MS-13 to justice and by working to dismantle this gang that's terrorizing our communities. I know people in this room are very familiar with the horrifying stats, but MS-13 is one of the most violent and formidable threats that our country faces today. MS-13 leaders may operate out of prisons in El Salvador, but the gang is alive and well in our streets. It is estimated there are 10,000 MS-13 members in the United States. 2,000 are estimated to be right here in Long Island. And their ranks are continually being refilled with new emissaries from El Salvador. MS-13 is infiltrating our high schools, our middle schools, even our elementary schools. The gang's brutality, as you alluded to, Mr. President, just cannot be captured by words. You mentioned their motto, kill, rape, control. They live by that motto. They kill, murdering their victims, murdering them with machetes, chains, knives, bats, firearms. They rape, gang raping young girls, selling them for sex. They control, killing not just rival gang members, but also fellow MS-13 members who are suspected of being cooperators with law enforcement or violated gang rules. For example, in March, an MS-13 member named Elmer Lopez pled guilty to murdering a fellow gang member who is suspected of cooperating with law enforcement. Lopez and his cohorts brought their victim to a secluded, wooded area in Brentwood, maybe about 15 miles from here, where they took turns slashing and stabbing him to death. Mr. President, the victim's skeletal remains were discovered more than 4 months later. A few months ago, MS-13 member Raul Landaverde Herran, who also is facing federal charges for allegedly illegally re-entering the company after he was deported. Landaverde Herran was convicted of murdering someone who had fled El Salvador for Maryland to avoid a kill order from MS-13. Landaverde Herran and his fellow thugs lured that victim to the woods, shot him in the head, and stabbed him in the face and neck. For his role in the murder, Landaverde Herran received a promotion from MS-13. Well, Mr. President, thanks to our criminal justice system, he will also be receiving a mandatory life sentence.
Great.
And to give one other example, Mr. President, last November, Yerman Hernandez Ordonez, a Honduran national who was illegally in the United States, was sentenced for his role of an MS-13 murder in Virginia. Hernandez Ordonez.
All right, we've been watching President Trump at a roundtable in Long Island, New York. He's surrounded by officials from his administration and local officials and law enforcement as they talk about MS-13, the gang there. We are going to continue to monitor this event, but we want to bring back in Karl Rove. He's former Deputy Chief of Staff for President George W. Bush. Let me ask you something about this issue of MS-13. You know, I read in some places that there is criticism that the MS-13 threat is overblown. But if you live in one of these communities where the gruesome attacks, as the gentleman was just explaining to the president there, if you live in a community where that's happening, it's certainly not overblown. And has the president zeroed in on something that really needs to be taken care of?
Yeah, and look, it's not overblown if your community is suffering the kind of depredations that this gang can bring about. And look, even